Hello and welcome to B'nai Baruch's continuing class on Kabbalah, the technical section. We're on week 7, and tonight's article will be, where'd it go? The World of Nikudim. But before we do that, we have a couple of news items in case you haven't heard, and if you're online you've heard. There will be a Congress coming up in Blackpool, England. So if you live in Europe, this would be a good chance to hop across the water and go to Blackpool, England for the Congress there, which will be Friday through Sunday, November the 7th through the 9th. Good chance to meet some of your fellow students and to do some bonding there. And then the following weekend, in the Midwest, in the middle of America, in St. Louis, there'll be another Congress, a retreat here in St. Louis, November the 14th through the 16th. And we hope to see a lot of people there, the students from across the country and around the world. They're all welcome. You'll find more information and details on the web. Just click on the banner at the top of the classroom page and you'll find more information there. We start every class with an intention. So tonight's intention reads like this. We should formulate the definition of the word spiritual correctly. It is the property of bestowal. My spiritual advancement means correction of my egoism and transforming it into the property of bestowal. Progress is possible only if I correct myself with each step. In other words, every time I have to feel that I aspire for altruism, for bestowal and love, which means closer connection among the group members and their greater efforts in bestowing to the Creator. It's a quote from Rav Lightman, Freedom of Will. Last week on part 6, we didn't quite finish the chapter. We'll be finishing that up first, the last few pages before we actually start the article for week 7. So this is picking up the Partsuf Nikudat. Below the Tebur, in that place of the strongest desires, the Nikudat Desag fill the Golgotha with the light of Hasidim, that is, with the pleasures of giving. These pleasures can be diffused without restraint to any desire in the Partsuf. Below the Tebur, the Nikudat Desag form a new Partsuf, which contains its own 10 Sfirat, Keter, Hakma, Bina, Hesed, Gevura, Tiferet, Netzah, Had, Yesod, and Malkut. This Partsuf bears the name Nikudat Desag. It is of paramount importance in the whole process of correction, since it is a part of Bina, which elevates the uncorrected desires to its level, corrects and raises above Bina. From the top to the Tebur, Golgotha comprises 10 Sfirat, which we group into 3 sections. At the Rosh level, we have the Sfirat Keter, Hakma, and Bina. At the Tok level, Hesed, Gevura, and Tiferet. Below the Tebur, in the Sof, we have Netzah, Had, Yesod, and Malkut. When Nikudat Desag descended below the Tebur and began to transmit the light of Hasidim to the Sof of Golgotha, they are subjected to a strong reaction on the part of the Reshimo remaining in the Sof of Golgotha from the light that previously filled these Kalim. You might remember that the very first thing the creature does is to completely take in all the light and fill Golgotha. Now these Reshimo are of strength Dalit Gimel. Now remember those are numbers. Dalit Gimel is 4-3. The strength of Dalit Gimel is higher than the strength of the Masak of the Nikudat Desag. Therefore, the Sag cannot oppose such a powerful light desire and begins to desire to receive light for itself. We can now examine the Bina phase in the spreading of the direct light from above downward. This phase is composed of 2 parts. In the first part, it does not want to receive anything while giving without restraint. This part is called Gar de Bina and is endowed with altruistic attributes. The second part already considers receiving light in order to transmit it further on. Although it is receiving, it does not do it for its own sake. This part of Bina is called Zat de Bina. The same thing occurs in the Partsuf of the Nikudat Dasag, which possesses the attributes of Bina. The first 6 Sfirot bear the name of Gar de Bina, and the last 4 Sfirot are named Zat de Bina. The powerful light of Chokmah that reaches Gar de Bina does not affect it. It is indifferent to this light. This part of Bina wishes only to bestow. However, Zat de Bina, which desires to receive in order to give to the lower levels, may receive only that light which relates to the Aviut Bet. If the desires reaching Zat de Bina are of a stronger Aviut, the desire to receive for oneself alone appears. In other words, Bina is divided into 2 parts. A part that only wishes to bestow no matter what, and another part that will receive, but only to pass the light to the parts below it. This means that Zat de Bina will only receive in order to pass that light to the Sfirot below. The problem here is that even though Zat de Bina only wants to receive in order to give, it will still receive. So, when these massive desires below the Tabur appear, Zat de Bina cannot resist. But we have a restriction here that does not allow such reception. After the Zimzum Aleph, the first restriction, Malkut cannot receive with the self-aimed intention. Therefore, as soon as a desire of such strength appears in the Zat of Nikudat Dasag, Malkut rises and positions itself on the border between the altruistic and selfish desires in the middle of Tiferet, between the Gar de Bina and the Zat de Bina. This act of Malkut is called Zimzum Bet, the second restriction. A new border for spreading the light, for the spreading of the light, is being formed along this line. It's called the Parsa. This border was located before in the Siyum of Galgalta. While the light was previously able to spread only down to the Tabor, even though it tried to penetrate under it with the spreading of the Partsuf of the Nikudat Dasag below the Tabor, the light of Hasidim did penetrate there and paved the way for the spreading of the light of Chokmah to the Parsa. A place is a sphera, inside of which another sphera, smaller in dimension, can be fitted. An example of that is Olam Nikudim, the world of Nikudim, inside of which are other worlds, Atzilut, Beria, Yetzirah, and Asiya. Our world exists in such a place. If you could take out absolutely everything that the universe contains, then the place would remain. Our finite minds cannot perceive it, but this is simply a void that cannot be measured since it is located in other dimensions. In addition to our world, there exist spiritual worlds that are impossible to perceive or to feel because they refer to other dimensions. Afterward, the world of Atzilut appears at the place of the Gar de Bina, below the Tabur. The world of Beria is formed under the Parsa in the lower section of Tiferet. The world of Yetzirah appears at the place of the Sfirot Netzah, Had, and Yesod. The world of Asiya, whose last portion is called our world, is formed at the place of the Sphira Malkut. How can 10 Sfirot be obtained out of 5? Zir Anpin is made up of 6 Sfirot: Hesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzah, Had, and Yesod. If instead of Zir Anpin one places its 6 Sfirot there, then along with Keter, Chokmah, Bina, and Malkut, now we have 10 Sfirah, or Sfirot. And this is the reason why sometimes 5 or sometimes 10 Sfirot are mentioned.
Good evening. Welcome to the 7th class. Tonight we're combining a little bit because we didn't get to finish all of the 6th class, and it's a very, very important part. It's the creation of the Partsuf Nikudat Desag. The first thing that you heard there, one of the last things you heard was what everything had to do with our world. I will touch on that a little bit, just for a minute, and that's all later in the broadcast, so you'll get an idea of kind of what we're talking about there. Because we aren't even close to us yet, or a human being, animal called a human being. What we have, first of all, we go back. Where'd you start? 9:30, 9:10?
9:10.
9:10? Okay. Great. Everyone remembers the 5 phases of direct light. 4 phases in Shorish. There's the initial thought of creation called the Creator. Why do we call that initial thought of the creation Creator? Because it's the only way that we can relate to the Creator at that level. We don't understand anything about the Creator above this initial thought. Nothing. And there's no way to understand it. We can only relate to the Creator in a manner in which relates to us. In other words, only in matters that have to do with us. And that's it. That's what we can talk about when we talk about the Creator. And of course, we have Behinat. The 4 Behinat, Behina Aleph, known as Keter, Chokhmah. This is also known as Keter. We have Chokhmah, which is where the light builds the desire and fills it with pleasure. We have Bina, where the vessel chooses, it says, no, there's a giver here. I want to be like the giver, not just a receiver, and it refuses to receive. We have Zerampen, where the vessel works out a way to be able to do both, receive and be like the giver. How does it do that? With an intention, with a tool called an intention, to where it can say, hey, now wait just 1 minute. I won't receive anything unless it's only in order to please the Creator. So the goal is pleasing the Creator, not receiving pleasure. And so it receives, but only under the express condition that it does it in order to bestow, in order to allow the Creator to do what the Creator does. And then finally we have the full-blown desire, the actual creature called Malchut, which is the end-of-the-line creature, the real thing, and that is a desire for 2 things. Why is it an actual creature? Because up to this point everything was kind of on autopilot. It was happening all by cause and consequence. Now what is happening? Now what is happening is that it's happening with an independent desire, a desire that was created as something from nothing. What desire is that for? Well, this experience that it had in receiving in order to bestow, its next evolution is that, yes, it does want this pleasure that it originally got. But from this stage, it received a very special pleasure, and that pleasure was the pleasure from doing what the Creator does, from achieving the status of the Creator. This is something that wasn't in the original desire, wasn't in the original pleasure. So what does it have? It has a circumstance to where it certainly understands its own qualities, and it understands now the quality of what it means to be a giver. It knows that it's a receiver, but it also understands what it means to be a giver. Question from Jesus from Venezuela. Does the creature on phase 2... Jesus, pardon me. Well, I'm going to need a lot of help with our new Spanish students. Jesus from Venezuela. Does the creature on phase 2 attain the equivalence of form with the Creator? No, not at all. Not at all. What it is this is like a blueprint. It's a desire to do what the Creator does. And in fact, it can't do it. Why? It has nothing to bestow, Jesus. It can't bestow. there's nothing there for it to give. So what does it do? It does the only other thing it can do, the next best thing, and that's just not to receive at all. Now, it does determine that it will receive pleasure because it wants to do two things. It likes the pleasure it received originally in Behina Aleph, but it also liked the pleasure from the status of doing what the Creator did, and so it wants to receive for two reasons. That second, to obtain the status of the Creator, you all know as the soul, so it's a very, very important part. It is an actual independent thing from the Creator. So what's going to happen? It's going to do just that. It's going to receive everything in the Kli. And then something happens. What happens? It feels a sensation. It feels the sensation between its own qualities, that of only of reception, and the qualities of the giver, what the qualities of the giver really are, which is all giving with nothing for its own self. And it feels the separation. It feels this, that it's as far apart really from the qualities of the Creator, it's as far apart as east is from west. So what's it going to do? It's going to say, that's it, I'm done, and it's going to do something called a restriction. The Hebrew term is tzimtzum. Sometimes you see it spelled TZ instead of TS, but it's actually pronounced with a TS sound. Tzimtzum. And we may have an additional question here. We have a question. Will you please specify? This is from Noelia in Florida. Noelia in Florida. Will you please specify where the first restriction takes place? Right here. Tzimtzum Aleph. Number 1. I won't receive anything, period, because this isn't working. I have to have some kind of a fix to this situation. I have completely, totally opposite qualities of the Creator. We're like this, and we need to be like this. We need to have the same qualities, and this isn't it. This isn't it. I'm not at all like the Creator. So what does it do? It goes about building itself a system where it receives, but only in order to bestow. And what it's going to do is slowly, slowly, through a series of stages, separate itself to where it can no longer sense the Creator. And it can no longer sense the pleasure from the Creator. Why? Why would it do such a thing? For what reason? The reason is so it can choose to attain this quality like the giver, the quality of the giver, all on its own. For no reason other than because it is the right quality to have. No coercion, not because it's going to get pleasure out of the deal. Not because it is going to be able to somehow sense a giver in this picture. What giver? And as you can see, you see our current state. What God? What giver? We can believe whatever we want. That's called religion. But where's the giver really? And what pleasure? What extra pleasure? Most of what we have here is suffering, so that's not the deal. So why are we in this circumstance? We're in this circumstance right now so that we have a complete total concealment of both the Creator and the Creator's pleasure. Now, that gives us a basis to come at choosing bestowal for no other reason than for the sake of bestowal. Not because of a Creator, not because of getting pleasure from it. Brad from Seattle. In these stages you are describing, is there numerically only one creature, one Kli? Yes, we're talking about the same creature, Brad. Identical creature. You're exactly right. Good observation. It's just different states of its development. There's only one creature here. So, Tzimtzum Aleph. It now begins to build this system And we went over that 2 lessons ago. Well, let's talk about what it's going to do here a moment. It's going to use its intention. I am going, what is my entire goal? To be like the Creator, to do what the Creator does. My intention is to please something other than me. So what does it do? It has an intention to bestow. To bestow what? Whatever. It just wants to bestow, to be a giver. So when the light comes, which we all know now, and if you're attending the lessons, you know the 5:30 lessons on terminology, that's called Or Yashar. It means direct light or straight light. Draw this a little bit bigger. And then it strikes this masach. In other words, this masach, this intention, is kind of like saying, nope, 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 nope. I am not going to take in that light. Sorry. It's not going to happen right now. In other words, it pushes it all away. How much? 100%. Every single bit of it. It says no. Now, the same light is now referred to as Or Hosir. It then builds a masach, a rosh, the masach, the light striking the masach, builds a rosh with 5 parts to it that really are these qualities: Keter, Hakma, Bina, Zerampin, and Malchut. And it says, okay, what's this rosh for? This rosh, this head, this calculating part, has 2 pieces of data. In one piece, in the masach part, the screen that's reflecting this light off of it, there's data in here about this desire for the pleasure in the kli. How much do I want that light? In the light and the Or Hosir, there is also, in the masach as it strikes it, there's also data about the light because the light struck it. It knows its substance. It knows what's there. It knows how much, the qualities of the light. And so now I can make a calculation. How much light can I take in? In other words, how much pleasure can I take in only under the express condition to please the Creator? And it decides a certain amount, and that's what it takes in. What it takes in is called Or Panimi. What remains, and let's say it takes in, say, 20% of the light. I'm just using a figure. What remains outside is called Or Makif. All the light that remains outside is called Or Makif. Now it begins to set up a system. We're going to draw this the way it actually, in a different way, because it's much easier for us to draw it this other way. And understand that same big kli that we just had there, we're going to turn it into something that's more linear here. We got a black in these. Okay. We are going to... Oh, you have more? Good. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to draw it this way. That same... Now, understand, everyone, this partsuf that we're talking about here, that kli, we're going to draw the same thing over here. And this top part is going to be the Rosh. And this is the Or Yashar, the direct light. Here's the Or Hosir. And here's the 5 sections of light that it builds, or of the Rosh that it builds. Here's the light that comes down into the Kli. Now this is where the Masach is. And you can think of it, it's easy to think of it as it pushes the Masach down to here and stops. Remember, it only is going to allow in 20% of the light. Here's the 20%. And this light's called the Or Panimi. Now the light's going to, from the outside, that Or Makif is going to begin influencing it, saying, take more light, take more light. The Creator wants you to take more light, take more light. It's going to say, I can't do it. If I take in any more, it would be egoistic, and I can't do that. By the way, as we saw last time, there are 5 sections here too. Keter, Hakma, Bina, Zeranpin, and Malchut. Each one, as we said with these phases, this is phase 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can think of this as the power of both the light and the desire. A couple of quick questions here that apply directly to what we're talking about here. Let's see if I can get this a little bit bigger. Brad, in these stages you are describing, is there numerically only one creature Kli? Yes, we answered that. Elizabeth from Tennessee. Hi, Elizabeth. Clarify. I thought it was a vessel until Malchut, and then it becomes a creature. Yeah, you can think of it that way. You can think of it as pure desire, a vessel, but then what's its Malchut? It's still a vessel. It's still a desire to receive, Elizabeth. It's just that now it is an independent desire, a desire to do what the Creator does, something, a desire for the status of the Creator, something that wasn't originally into it. So it makes it different. Lesby from New Jersey, if in any point the giver will discover the power of bestowal, there is any distance from the superior world. If in any point the giver discovers the power of bestowing, there is any, the giver is only just constant bestowal. That's all there is. There's a distance from the superior world. From the superior world. The giver is always bestowing and doing nothing but that, or remaining empty. It does not accept light except in order to bestow. And yes, there's always a distance in between the worlds to some extent, unless one world corrects to have the qualities of the other. If it has the same qualities, it's the same place. Parisala from Toronto. Mike, how does one determine how much to take in, say 20 or 10%? Who does the determining? The Mazach. This calculating material, this calculating screen determines how much that it can take in order to please the Creator. That's what it is for. It is the intention to bestow. Marian from North Spain. Hi, Marian. It's good to see you. Marian is very active on the forum and has a lot of good questions there. What does it mean it creates a Rosh? It creates this calculating machine. It has data involved. What does our brain do? Our brain constantly compares and makes a calculation. We have pleasure. We have the work for the pleasure. Which one's the greatest? If the work required outweighs the pleasure, we don't make the act. If the pleasure outweighs the work, we make the act. It's that way every single time in corporeality. This Rosh does it better. Can I bestow or not? Here, and how much compared to the pleasure? Shoo. I can bestow this amount. Can I use this desire to bestow? Yes, great. No, forget it. I won't touch it. So it's still a calculation, just based on different parameters, Marian. Ed from Vancouver. Hi, Ed. Mike, how can the Kli take in 100% of the light? How can the Kli take in light if 100% of the light was first bounced off the screen? How can it take in? It doesn't. It only takes in whatever it can take in order to please the Creator, and that's it. No more. Paul from Tasmania. How does Yud Hey Vav Hey fit into the picture, into the 5 stages? Very simple, Paul, and it's a very good question, by the way. Yud Hey Vav Hey. Tip of the Yud here. The tip of the Yud. Paul. Then Yud. Hey. Vav. Hey. They are literally the qualities of these properties. And by the way, folks, here's something to consider. Everything you see, no matter what it is, no matter who it is, no matter what the object is, no matter what a desire is, no matter what, if a desire is born, it goes through this entire process, and it will get more complicated. But at the same time, it's all always made of these 5 qualities. The tip of the Yud, called Keter. Yud, called Chokhmah. Hey, first Hey, called Bina. Vav, called Zer and Pin, Zer and Pin, Zer and Pin. And then the final Hey, called Malchut. And those are the 5 sfirot and the 5 qualities that make up literally everything. Literally everything. Let's go ahead and continue here because we've got a long way to go here, and I want to get through at least part 6 real quick. So, as you all will remember, this is called Galgalta. And what happens here in Galgalta is that there's so much pressure of Or Hosir saying, take it, that the Partzuf cannot stand it anymore. It says, I can't do this. No, I've got to purify. I've got to get the light out of me. It's easier for me to stay completely, totally empty than to stay with just a little light when there's a whole bunch more available. You all have heard me in several lessons use the example of the potato chips. With all the cholesterol. Someone gives you, with all the oil, cholesterol, all that bad stuff for you, and it's exactly what makes them good. Carbohydrates galore in them. You eat one potato chip. Remember the ad, bet you can't eat just one? That's why. They knew you can't eat just one. Not a chance. If you're going to eat one chip, you're going to eat at least half the bag. So, this is the same situation. It can't stand not to have more, and it prefer to remain empty than to just eat one chip, than to just have just a little bit of pleasure. So what does it do? It begins to purify, and it purifies by levels. It purifies by levels. In other words, there are different couplings on the light, called zivug, where the light comes out one section at a time. One section at a time. Now, we also can call these lights, Keter, Chokhmah, Bina, Zerampin, and Malchut, by the names of the light that fills them. By the name of the light that fills them. What is that? In that section called Malchut, it's called Nefesh. In Zerampin, it's called Ruach. Bet they're not going to be able to see that, are they? And let's try it differently, so you can see this a little bit better, and then we'll go back to that page and finish up here. So we have Keter, Chokhmah, Bina, Zerampin, and Malchut. And those are the vessels. That's the Kli part. The Kli part. But there's also a light component here that fills it. What kind of light fills it? Here, we'll start at the bottom. What fills Malchut? Nefesh. Zerampin is Ruach. In Bina, Neshama. Chokhmah, Haya. And in Keter, Chida, the highest, most pure light. So, we can also call these by their strength. We can number them 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay? So, what do we have here? We have light that's exiting the Kli, and the Kli says, now wait, I cannot take in this much. I'm going to reduce the amount of light, and I'm going to build another parsuf, and we're going to do this deal over again. And it does the same thing with the same result, and it has to get rid of the light again, if you'll remember. And so what does it do? Then it lowers it again to a lower level. And light, and out. And this is called Ab, and this is called Sag. And let's say where it took in 20% here, it took in, say, 15% here. And then 10% in Sag. It does it again. In a parsuf called Ma. And finally, it does it again in a parsuf called Ban. The same thing, just as we discussed in great detail last time. So what's going to happen? Well, remember that these lights are leaving. And as it reaches a certain level, now, by the way, you all might remember, there's always the 5 sefirot in each case. You all might remember that I mentioned these numbers here. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. That's the strength of the light and the strength of the desire. The strength of the light is called the strength of the pleasure. The light is called hitlabshut, the quality of the pleasure. And the quality of the masak, or rather the desire for the desire, is called aviyut. Aviyut, the qualities of the desire. So what's going to happen? What's going to happen is it's going to reach this place where it's, remember, Sag is the same as Bina. Galgalta Ab Sag. Well, if we go back, I keep going the wrong way. We can also say this is the qualities of Galgalta, Ab, and Sag, 2. So we have this light with the strength of 2, which is the same as Bina, which is the same as giving. And as it's withdrawing this light, it reaches a place to where the strength of desire is 2 as well. And it says, wait! We've got all this area under here with really strong desires. And now's an opportunity to get some light down there. What are we going to do? We are going to build a parsuf down here with 10 sefirot, Keter, Chokmah, Bina, Hesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchut. All the way down here at the bottom. So, we're going to send light down here, and it's the light of bestowal. Couldn't be better. All these nasty, huge 4-3 desires down here. Really strong desires. And what's going to happen? By the way, from the tabor from the top to the tabor of Galgalta comprises the Rosh, the Talk, and the Sof. You found that out in here. We also found out that there are 10 sefirot in this parsuf here called Nekudat. Nekudat. Disag. It means Nekudat of Sag, which means these individual zivug are happening on individual small sectional parsufim, small ones. Each Keter, Chokmah, Bina, Zerim, Pin, and Malchut here is going to have its own individual parsuf as the light is withdrawing. Those parsufim that represent the withdrawal of the light out of the parsuf are called Nekudat. And that is exactly what's happening here. Now, we have a circumstance here to where there are six sphirot here and four here. These six sphirot are pretty much all in certain different degrees. They are all about bestowing. That's it, just desires to bestow. And then we've got that six sphirot. And then we've got another four down here that are all about reception. All about reception. Since this is in this desire of two, we call this two different parts of Bina, the qualities of Bina. One up here we call the Gar. And down here we call it the Zat. So you see it written in here, Gar de Bina and Zat de Bina. The Gar of Bina, the vessels of bestowal of this particular Partsuf, and the Zat de Bina, the vessels of reception of this particular Partsuf. So you kind of get an idea of what that means. Now, here's the deal. You all remember that at the start of this, the whole purpose of this was to develop the desire to bestow and to receive only when that there is a specific kind of desire, to receive only when there is a way to be able to bestow by receiving. Here's the problem. These desires down here could care less about bestowing. These are serious, strong desires. They say, no, we'll just take the pleasure. Thank you. Glad to see you're coming in light. Very egoistic. So what's going to happen? Malchut is going to rise right up here to the middle of this thing called Tiferet. Remember, it's Keter Chokmah Bina, Hesed Gevurah Tiferet. Right in the middle of Tiferet and park right there. It's going to say, no light is going to get below me, period, that's it, the game's over. From here down, it's going to stay empty, period. Now, what's going to end up happening here? By the way, this line is called the parsa. The parsa. It's the dividing line for Nekudat Disag, the Partsuf Nekudat Disag, between what is vessels of bestowal and vessels of reception in that Partsuf. Later, what's going to happen is there's going to be a breaking. Somehow, some light's going to get down here, and you're going to find out why. It's going to be called the breaking of the vessels. And the reason is because it's important for there to be a mixture. And there's going to be three worlds created here. One's going to be the bottom half of Tiferet. One is going to be Netzachad. Netzachad Yisod. And one's going to be Malchut. So there's going to be all these different areas, Netzachad, Yisod, Malchut. So what we're going to have here is we're going to have three different worlds. It's going to be Asiya, Yetzirah, and Bria. Spelled B-E-R-I-A. Why in Hebrewish, I don't know, but they do. So, this and all of this up here, in this area, is going to be called Atzilut. What is this? This is all a system of correction to correct what's going to break here. And I promise you something, I'm going to fulfill that right now. What's going to happen? All of this is going to have to be corrected, all these vessels. But do you remember when I told you that a system is going to be built where everything is in total, complete concealment? That's what's going to happen. The there is going to be no light except for the tiniest spark you can imagine, right here at what's called the siyum, the conclusion of spirituality. Just below it, there's one tiny spark that gets through. That's it. That's all. You know that spark of light by a different name. It's called the Big Bang. And it creates all this. Every bit of it. The tiniest, most minuscule spark of light that you can think of from spirituality. That gives you an idea. Think of this. And we're talking about the entire universe. From soup to nuts. The whole deal. All the different galaxies, all of the different stars, all the different planets, the plants, the animals, and humans, all the way to humans, you're talking everything is all in that one teeny weeny little spark. So you can imagine what these worlds up here are like. Asiya, Yitzira, and Bria. They are massive worlds. Huge, giant, nothing that we can even conceive of. And when people think, oh, I've had light before. One can't imagine. You can't possibly handle any kind of light without an incredible masach. Something that would block at least a spark of this light. It's called nitzatz. It's incredible. So, let's see what we got here. Make sure that we have everything reviewed for you. Okay, we do. We have Netzachad, Yisod, and Yetzirah, Malchut, and Asiya, and the lower half of Tiferet and Bina from over here. All of this is going to be the world of correction, and now you know what's there. And so what we're going to do now is I'm going to answer a few questions, and then we'll get going with some more. Let's get some of our Spanish viewers over here because they've got questions. Delia. I don't know where she's from. How do we know that is the light of the Creator, and how do we know that there is the light of the Creator and not other light? There's only one light. That's it. There isn't any other light. There are no other options, Delia. Alexander from Venezuela. Does the desire is to relate to the heart attitude? Does the desire that relates to the heart attitude? Attitude? I guess that's attitude. Yeah, you can kind of say, I think you're saying the point in the heart. What is the point in the heart? The point in the heart means that I'm taking the Creator into account. The point in the heart is that I don't have business. What is the heart? The heart is all my desires. Desires for what? Pleasure. Period. What's the point in the heart? Well, the heart is when I have business with all the pleasures. The point in the heart is where my business has to do only with the giver of those pleasures. That's who I have business with today, not the pleasures themselves. Patty from Mexico. Can we say that we are like the seed of the wheat, that we receive the conditions from the soil, and then while we grow up, we just receive and receive until we have the fruit, and then we give satisfaction to the others? No. We don't do that at all. We stay egoistic. Period. And we have, over and over and over again, thousands and thousands of years to where our will to receive has been developing over and over and over again, Patty. And only now, as that point in the heart, an egoistic desire to do what the Creator does, to have the status of the Creator, begins to awaken. are we interested in this thing called spirituality? The attainment of the qualities of the Creator. Everyone has talked about the Creator forever. Great religions are built on it and what I can get out of Him. Where do I go after I die? What will make me feel better? But now we're talking about the attainment of the qualities of the Creator, meaning bestowal. That's just surfacing now, and that has to be corrected, and that's a matter of who you have business with, the pleasure or the Creator. Maria from Mexico, how can we have a complete desire to receive the light without feeling shame? Real simple. Attain a masach, an intention to bestow, and only use the will to receive as a tool that allows one to bestow. Now, the answer is simple. Doing it is something different. The process of doing that is called Kabbalah. Rosa from Mexico, do we have to memorize all the lesson in order to move forward in the lesson? No. No, gosh no. Gosh no. What's the reason for the lesson? Remember this thing called Or Makif? Back here that I talked about, the Or Makif that made it unbearable and the light had to leave? That Or Makif is really cool. What does it do? The Or Makif builds the desire. What are we talking about here? Now I want you to think about it. Let's go back to this this explosion that happened called the Big Bang. And we're talking about the slightest little spark that fell down here and created this universe. All you're discovering here, all of this entire system, all the way from the four phases of direct light, all the way through Zimtzum, all the way through Hosir and Or Pnimi, all the way through Galgalta, Absag, Ma, and Ban, through Nekudat, Desag, through Zimtzum number 2. This is the second restriction. Zimtzum 2. Through the world of correction, Absolute, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah, all the way down to this point. Every single bit of it. This is all about what's up above that little bitty spark that created this whole universe. There's a lot more there, folks. A whole lot more there. So what's all this studying about here? Materials, Kabbalistic materials, draw something very special. They have this strange magic that they perform. Now, don't get me wrong about magic and think about witches and goblins and Harry Potter. That isn't it. What does it do? It draws a force called Or Makif. What does this Or Makif do? No matter what I think I'm learning and how smart I'm getting and all that stuff, folks, it doesn't matter at all. The only thing that matters is if that tiny desire within me to do what the Creator does, that's so small at first, where all my corporeal pleasures that I get are far more important. But there's this little bitty pleasure, or this little bitty desire to do what the Creator does. For spiritual pleasure, it begins to grow. The Or Makif affects it. It affects it in two ways, from the proper materials and from the importance that's given to me by my friends that have that same desire. Now you know what a friend is as well, Rosa. Julio from Bogota. That process that you are explaining, I understand that is the creation of the worlds and the end is Malkut. Where is the creature appear? The creature appeared here. And is going through a process, different states, all the way down to here, where it is in complete, total, utter concealment and broke into 600,000 pieces that just kept right on multiplying into 7 billion pieces today. Humpty Dumpty had made a really big splash. Broke into 600,000 pieces that just kept right on breaking. So each piece there kept breaking as well into other parts. That's us, as you can imagine. Maria from Mexico. Do all the vessels have a bit of light, and some of them do not obtain any light at all? The only light that they have is the bare existence light. All of the rest, they have enough to know, yes, I exist. Enough desire to keep me going in this. What do we call that? Corporeal desires. That's it. We'll spend more time on that when we talk about the breaking. Claus from Mexico, do we reflect more light when we have a better understanding of our intentions? We don't reflect anything now. Nothing. There are no intentions, Claus. None. Zero. That's the whole point, to get one. George from Colombia, so the tabor of Galgalta is the Keter of Absolute? You can think of it that way, yes. Exactly. Very good, by the way. And a few more here from our friends around the world. Cass from Brazil, how can anything be independent from the Creator? Cass, it can be independent from the Creator because it wasn't in the first package of pleasure. This desire that he's talking about is independent, that's called the soul, the something from nothing, is a desire for the status of the Creator. There wasn't the desire for the status of the Creator in the very first desire. There was just pleasure and the desire to receive that pleasure. But there was no status of the Creator yet. Why? Because until the creature made this action of receiving in order to bestow in Zerampin, it didn't know what it was like. It had no idea what the Creator was like. So how would it know? How would it have a desire for something? It's like someone that offers you a new, different kind of food. And you never tasted it before. I did this with guacamole for a long time. My friends would put something really disgusting in texture, and it's green, and it's sitting there on my plate. I'm thinking, there is just no way I'm ever going to put this stuff in my mouth. Finally, because, it just didn't look good at all. Finally, I took a bite. Come to find out, I love guacamole. Strangely enough, this stuff's actually good. Now I have a desire for it. Once I experience the pleasure from it, I have the desire from it. Before that, no thanks. Paul from... Nope. Already did that one. Ricardo from the Philippines. Hi, Ricardo. As you all can see, we have people from all over the world. And by the way, we have 2 congresses coming up that we have to mention. One is in the UK. Blackpool, is that the way it's...
Blackpool,
Wales, is that correct?
No. England.
England? Is it in England? Okay. And as you can imagine, why is it important? You go to one of these congresses, what's there? About 1 million times more Or McKeith than you can draw from a lesson like this. One can what does it mean to advance? It means that the desire to do what the Creator does grows exponentially. And when I get around that many people and that strong of a force, all doing one thing, it makes incredible advances. I can advance 6 months compared to what I advance in 1 weekend compared to what I can study. That's why we have the congresses. There's one in the UK for all of you in Europe, and there's a lot of you in Europe here. I see that. If you're close, any way to get there, get there. There's one also here. Right here in St. Louis where I'm broadcasting from. Same thing. And Rob will be at both of these congresses. There's absolutely no reason to miss this unless you just absolutely have to. If you're having a difficulty of any kind for any reason, you should register, write us, say, I've got this problem. Is there anything you can do to help us? And we'll see if we can't help you with that. Ricardo from the Philippines. Greetings. Is the vessel and the creature the same? Is the vessel and the creature the same? Yes. Once it gets to a certain point of development. Abraham Diaz from Mexico. Mike, is there any way that the Kli will take all the light to bestow without keeping some for itself? No, not at all. Oh, what do you mean? Will it take it without keeping some for it? Without keeping some for it? No, it never, ever. It always does. I have to reread what you wrote here. It's a little bit backward, but yes, it always, every single time It will only take what it can in order to bestow. And when it tries not to, there's a breaking. And an immediate sensation of incredible shame. Immediately. It has to. It has no other choice. Jasmine from Pennsylvania, why would a Masak decide to take in one percentage over another? Because it's going to take in the maximum amount, Jasmine, that it possibly can in order to bestow. If it takes in 21% instead of 20, it's too much. Why would it take in 19? It wouldn't, because it wants to take in the maximum. Ernest from New York, if the Creator only wishes to bestow, how can it receive back? Ernest, you heard me say earlier, everything is from our perspective, how we sense it because of our qualities. And that's how we sense it. We sense it as if the Creator is accepting pleasure from us by allowing Him to give us pleasure. In truth, does the Creator need anything? No, the Creator is a pure force of bestowal. Nothing more. But that's not our sensation to it. Cheryl from New Jersey, how is the tetragram pronounced? How's the name of God pronounced? Let's call it Havaya, or Yud-He-Vav-He. Yvonne from Australia. Incredible, folks, all over the world. Mike, does the light exist from the top down, i.e. from Keter first? Yes, it does. And in fact, by the way, this is kind of interesting. The light, this light, Yehida, it's the last to come in. What's going to happen? The light Nefesh is going to come into Keter first. So you have Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Haya, and Yehida. Then Nefesh moves down and to here, and Ruach comes in. And then Nefesh moves down again, Ruach moves down one, and Neshama comes in. And then again, and again, until we have all 5 lights in. So it's like fitting in one tube into the other. It's like one tube fits into the other tube, where all 5 levels come in reverse order from what you would think. Albert from Washington. Hi, Albert. I cannot help but notice the similarity between the word Golgotha and Golgotha. Yeah, I understand the religious aspect of it. There is no connection except for the Hebrew term Golgotha. They both mean skull. Jasmine. So every desire contains the name of the Creator, not just the point in the heart. Correct. Ricardo in the Philippines. At the 4 phases which is Malkut, is the true creation, is the other phases an imagination or an intellectual mind of the Creator? No, the other phases are the actual blueprint of what will be the creature. It is a desire, remember. And then there is a desire to bestow, is in Bina, to be like Daddy, to be able to bestow. But it's a desire. It's a blueprint of what is to come. It's the roadmap. The plans, like the blueprint that you would have to build a house. Is that the house? No. Is it imagination? No, it's an actual blueprint. Madian, hi, from North Spain again. Madian again. So after the barrier, the first spiritual worlds revealed contain desires that are not corrected. Exactly. Yes, they do. You see, Madian, the work is not here. Here is the preparation. And only going through preparation and corporeality, building the desire for up here, building the desire to be up here. To be up here. Not just in this little point down here called our universe, but to be up here in spirituality. That's called the preparation period. Once it takes over, yes, one enters here. What has to be corrected? Madian, nothing here. Corporeal desires are not what's corrected. Not at all. Everyone gets confused about this. It isn't my desire for Coke or anything else. It's spiritual desires that have to be corrected. Spiritual desires. They all have to do with how can I use the Creator in order to benefit me. That's why they need correction. So all the desires we're talking about that have to be corrected are there. Spiritual desires, not desires here. That's why people that are fooling around with desires here thinking they're doing something are really sitting there spinning their wheels doing nothing and helping them a bit. That's the goal, to get to those desires. In part B to that is that once one corrects one spiritual desire, one is there, period. They cross Maxom, they are there. Literally, it is not something that ends, ever. One senses eternity, one senses the whole 9 yards. Jill from LHC. Where's LHC? LHC? Are there other worlds being created like ours, and are they to obtain? No, we're it. Yvonne from Australia again. So all the study is actually to get the sensation of what we're studying within ourselves. Very good, Yvonne. That's right. An equivalence of form with what's outside us in spirituality. That's why we sense it. It's like the difference between having the ability to see X-rays somehow, to gain this ability to see in X-ray vision instead of the way we normally see. In other words, we get a new sense. Now, it's obviously not having anything to do with our corporeal senses. Estefania from Florida. So everything and every part and every body is part of that one creature. You're exactly right. And past that, Estefania, the entire goal is to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. Folks, here's the other reason why the congresses are so important. It is the opportunity to all get together to do one thing, connect. Why? Because that's the only thing one has to work on. What's broken? How does one attain spirituality? Through the reconnection of the 600,000 pieces. That's it. The process is called love thy neighbor as thyself, or love thy friend as thyself. And this is exactly what we'll be discussing at all the congresses, and being very, very specific about what must be done, how to do it. Like I said, there's a lot there. Stephen from Seattle, Washington. In the end, will there only exist a symbiotic receive in order to bestow desire, and bestowal desire cycle between the Creator and the will to receive? Stephen, when you get there, let me know too, okay? In the end, we don't really know what's in the far end. That's too far away from where we are. Tim in Pensacola. Can one person attain a masach by himself? Obviously not, just like what I mentioned. It is the reconnection between others. That's called love, when I feel my other friend's desires, the desire to do what the Creator does in him, and we connected as one. It's an absolute necessity and the only possible way, Tim, that one can enter spirituality. Again, the reasons for our congresses. Leanna, hi, is it possible to join a congress from Saturday onwards? You betcha. Leanna, you're from England. Consider it my personal invitation, please, to attend the UK Congress, if there's any way you can get there. And if you have any trouble and you are on the forum, if you will personal message me, we'll take care. I will help you and do what I can to make sure that we get you registered and done properly there. Abraham from Pennsylvania. Was God's purpose in creating to share love and wisdom with beings like itself? There are no beings like itself. It's God. It's infinite. There is a will to receive, a creature, that it wants to be able to receive infinite pleasure from it. Infinite pleasure. And the only way it can do that is if it does it in order to bestow, so it attains the Masach, the quality of God. Gilbert from El Paso. Can the movement of light be said to be a branch explanation of time? So what you're wondering is, what is time? Because there is no time in spirituality. So what is time really? Time is the entire evolution of all of these processes. It stretches out to us. All these things that are happening that we talk about, this period of correction. It stretches out to us, and it seems as though that there is time, because what are we really measuring? What's really happening here? Well, between each and every lifetime, one is changing, evolving, more and more and more and more and more. How? Building the desire, higher and higher. What desire? The desire to receive pleasure, until it reaches its apex, where it's the highest that it will go, and for any kind of pleasure here in corporeality. And then what happens? Whether I have those pleasures fulfilled or not, I want them. Great, now what? Now there is another desire that takes over, the point in the heart. And now it's time, instead of making this long vertical movement through time, or horizontal movement through time, now it's time to go vertical. And that means closer to the Creator. Uzi from Grand Junction, Colorado. Hi, Uzi. Used to live in your part of the country. Does the vessel break again to get back to the equivalence of form of the Creator? Yes. We're going to be talking about that in a couple of 3 classes. What is that breaking? That's the breaking of Adam. Each and every one of you know that from the story of creation, don't you? In Genesis. That is when they're cast out, Adam and Eve are cast out of the garden. And everyone thinks that, that Eve, she was just so evil. Actually, folks, it had to happen. It was on purpose. It was to mix the qualities of the Creator with the qualities of the creature. And if that hadn't happened, you wouldn't have this point in the heart in you. That's why it's there, because of the breaking. So be glad that this happened. It was an absolute necessity. Mike, can you give an example of a spiritual desire that needs correcting? Sure, Ed, I thought that I did. A desire that needs correcting that is spiritual is that once I perceive the Creator, and I perceive a certain way in which I can use the Creator in order to please me, in other words, I can receive pleasure spiritually from the Creator, then I want to be able to correct that desire and use it in order to bestow the Creator. Now, if you want more than that, there's no way to give it, is there, Ed? Because what's the first requirement? You have to perceive the Creator. And I don't mean perceive the Creator in terms of what you imagine and what you feel and ooh and all this stuff. No. What we're talking about is perceiving the Creator like you perceive someone that's across the room from you. Perception of the Creator. In spirituality, it's as real as it is here, folks. It's not something you dream up or imagine or have an insight to. It's very, very real. And in truth, more real. Prasala from Toronto. You know, Mike, I'm fearful that I will not reach spirituality. Guess what? You don't have a choice. Prasala, you've got to reach spirituality. You're guaranteed it. You have no other option. The only thing that is determined is, that needs to be determined is when. When. You have the ability to speed it up. How? With my friends and with the proper materials. The Rav, the books, and the group. What's the Rav part? The teacher part, the Rav part, is someone that just keeps me on the right line, because I'm constantly wanting to vary off in this direction and vary off in that direction. I get off base. So I need a little help. Phil from Michigan, why do we give 10% or tithe physically to clean malchut here? It has nothing to do with what we do physically. Let's talk about it. Everyone always wants to know, what in the world is this thing called maaser? I've heard it, seen it on the forum over and over. There's a 7-page thing saying, oh my gosh. You know, the last one I heard was Rav puts his money in his back pocket. Let me tell you, folks, Rav has placed, you hear people laughing in the room, because Rob himself was a very, very, very successful businessman. He's taken a massive, great amount of his own funds and placed it within B'nai Baruch. He doesn't make a living off B'nai Baruch at all. And there isn't anyone doing that. No one makes money here. No one. To the contrary, people give many, many, many hours. Why? What is this? Why do we give? We don't give. It isn't that we give. There are two kinds of souls in the world. There are souls that require. There are souls with an obligation to correct themselves. There are also souls, and those are called the nations of the world. There are also souls that are called Israel. Israel. These are souls that must correct themselves, that's true. But they're awoken early, before others. That's fortunate, isn't it? Isn't that neat that they're opened up? But there's another part to this. They have an obligation. What is that obligation? That obligation is, their job is to help others that are awakening. That's what they're for. That's what all of Israel is for. And Israel is those with a point in the heart, those that are awakening. Now, what it is, it's a personal invitation from the Creator saying, this is the big picture, this is what has to be done. I know you have your petty little things that you like and all that. Keep them. Do whatever you want, but this is the reason you're placed on the planet. And we're waking you up so that you'll go to work. Now, we feel that obligation, and we feel it very strongly. That obligation not to ourselves, although that's there as well, Phil, but also the obligation to our friend that's next to us. Many people, as you saw on the forum, this was a very touchy people. People just went nuts about it. Oh my God, I can't pay this kind of. What is this, church? What are you saying here? No one was saying anything. We were just describing what Maser is. No one was asking anyone to pay a cent. Nothing. We don't ask anyone to. And for those that are called Israel, that are awoken early, their obligation is to participate in the correction of others. What do? Yes, 10% of every single penny that we bring in, no matter how it comes in, goes to support the incredible dissemination effort that's our personal responsibility in order to bring the wisdom of Kabbalah, the wisdom of correction, to the world. And you see why it needs it. Look what's happening and the catastrophes that are occurring, all because we haven't started this process of correction yet. Nothing could be more important, Phil. You cannot end the world's problems as they exist today. No way. Why? Because the ego just keeps on growing. Bigger and bigger and bigger. It has to be corrected from a spiritual perspective because everything comes from the top down. Everything. So, yes, B'nai Baruch, we don't ask others to spend a dime. If you want to support our efforts, we would love to have you support our efforts. If you never want to give us a penny, take all you want for free. That doesn't matter, and it's just not B'nai Baruch. We have other people that produce materials. A book, Wondrous Wisdom. Download it free. No problem. No problem. In addition, all of the lessons, as you can see, they never cost a penny. All of our books, every single book, all of the articles, every single article. We haven't produced one single thing in print that you can't have for free. That isn't it. But there are those that feel that obligation. And they come to us and say, and someone was putting up films of what that Rob was talking, saying, no, this is what you have to do. To do what? In order for your correction. What's your correction? Your correction is different. Rob is saying your correction is not the same as others. Why? Because of your purpose on the planet. It's not the same purpose as others. Now, is that you, Phil? I don't know. Maybe not. May just be that you're responsible just for you. And who determines that? You do, Phil. We don't. We don't tell you that you're responsible for others. That's the sensation that you have. Or you don't. Some are here and they can't stand not being active with others, participating in helping them. It's an absolute must, and they realize it. They feel it from the bottom of their heart. There's nothing else that they can do. They must do that. Now, does that mean that we don't lead normal lives? You bet we do. We all have regular jobs. We all have families. Everything else. It's just that we understand the purpose and the reason that we're on the planet, what we're supposed to do. So I hope this clears up this entire Maser mess for those in Israel that have that point in the heart. And we're not talking about physical Israel. We're talking about those that have the point in the heart that absolutely are obligated to help others, that have been awoken early to this incredible wisdom, to fulfill their obligation. Yes, most certainly. You are not going to be able to advance without doing what you need to do in order to do what the Creator put you here to do. Why He woke you up early. How? You're not fulfilling your mission. And for others that don't have that, no. There's no obligation there. I hope that cleared that up. Some people want, and by the way, it isn't 10% of someone's income. We have a lot of students that say, hey, you know what? I don't necessarily feel that, but I just want to send in $20 a month to support you. You know, we're getting free classes, we're getting all the materials. That's great if you feel that way. That isn't what we're talking about, but a lot of people feel that way. If you feel that way, please, we love it. Doesn't mean that we're saying, take your money and leave. We don't want it. But if you feel bad about it, if you feel guilty about it, I can promise you, we don't want it. Don't send it. Juan from Orlando, Florida. At the Congress in St. Louis, we'll be experiencing real spirituality by knowing love thy neighbor as thyself. The only reason to come here is to begin to get a sense of what's called unity. What's called that unity, that bonding together. That first tiny sensation to understand what's really happening here. Of course, tiny in our terms is pretty big. So, Bruce from Biloxi, and obviously, yeah, that's why we get together, Juan. It's the only reason. The goal has to be spirituality. Any other reason, forget it. We aren't there to party. Do we have fun? You betcha. You bet. Do we learn a lot? You betcha. You bet. Rob's there teaching. It's fantastic. Is that what we're there for? No. There's only one goal. That's revelation of the Creator. Nothing else, Juan. Bruce from Biloxi, I assume Mississippi. I hope everything is back together down your way. Love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus spoke those words. Was he teaching Kabbalah? As usual, we have a lot of these questions with religious questions. Bruce, the best thing to do is to study, to get there. Don't take my word for anything when it comes to what you believe and what's important for you to believe, and find out for yourself what you think later. Ricardo from the Philippines, what does the breaking of the vessel really mean? The breaking of the vessels means the loss of the intentions off of the kilim, off of the vessels. Gio from Tampa, Florida, and we're going to have to start next week on 7. Gio from Tampa, Florida, do generations or phases last a particular amount of time? Or if we work on this, could the soul be complete in our lifetime? Jill, without a doubt, you must, absolutely must, correct everything in one lifetime. All of it. You have to go through all the phases, all 125 phases, all in one lifetime. You have no other choice. And what does Kabbalah do? What is this process? It speeds it up. It speeds it up. It brings future states for you to you faster. Instead of you having to wait and do it in the next lifetime and the one after that, maybe a correction a year, now, or a correction a lifetime, now it's going to bring all those future states of the soul when it is addressed as some other person to you as you are now, Jill. That's what Kabbalah does. It's very unique. Monty from Washington, D.C. Can we actually fail to reach spirituality despite our most sincere intention to? No. Impossible. Impossible. Is there a significant chance that we may have to rediscover Kabbalah in another incarnation? Sure. What if you only corrected, if you have 125 corrections to go and you're on correction number 86, guess what? You come back next time and you do it again. Except here's the deal, Monty. Because it's already in you now, you go through up to 86 very quickly in your lifetime. And then you finish between 86 and 125 and you're done. Leslie from New Jersey. What will happen if we discover the true world with the 5 original senses, not with the primitive ones? You don't. You don't. Wait a minute. With the 5 original senses. Are you talking about the sensations, the vessels? The primitive ones, these are, you don't discover them with the corporeal senses. I don't know what you're referring to as primitive and original. Your corporeal senses are not what you sense them in. You cannot sense spirituality in corporeal senses. You can sense paranormal things, but that's not spirituality. Patty from Massachusetts. Hi, Patty. How do we apply what we're learning in our lives so we become more altruistic? Hear this all the time. Patty, there is absolutely no way you can go out on the street and start giving away $5 bills and become more altruistic. In other words, how do I bestow? Patty, one bestows only by entering spirituality, period. That's all you can do. If you're looking for a quick fix, like, how can I just adjust me? Now, I want to stay like I am, Mike. I'm just going to take it just like it is and just start bestowing. I'm going to tell you, it's impossible, Patty. You can't. Wish I could tell you could. What changes? You. You're the only thing that changes. That's it. So what do you have to do? Develop the desire for what? To change. To attain the qualities of the Creator. This is everything. Everything. Not what I do here corporeally. Mike in Reno. Mike, would you say that your teaching is up? That your teaching up is your form of receiving? Would you say that your teaching up is your form of... it's UP. It must be us. That your teaching us is your form of receiving? Mike, I'm just a parrot up here just saying what I've heard from my Roth before. And a student like you. Phil in Michigan. Thank you, Mike. That helped. Okay. Cheryl. Mike, is it wrong to split Maser with my church? No, Cheryl, look, it might be that you have an obligation to your church to give 10%, and you say, hey, Mike, we want to support you. I've only got an extra $5 a month that I can stick into this. Don't stick something in unless it's what you want to do. You should support what you want. And by the way, I have the same situation, Cheryl. I a member of First Baptist Church in Illinois, in southern Illinois, and obviously have to pay what is due my church. But at the same time, and you are allowed to keep your religion, as we all know. And at the same time, I meet my obligations here. But put it, Maser is not quite the same thing, Cheryl. Maser is for the correction of the world, not for religion. So it's a little bit different. But at this point, Cheryl, and any of you that want to do something like that, that's entirely up to you. If you feel a drive to do something like that, do what you like. Do what you feel is right. Not some advice from me. Your heart guides you in these things. And you shouldn't do things that hurt you in some way. Elizabeth from Tennessee. So you are saying that the preparation we are getting here is to prepare us for the 3 worlds of extreme egoism in Via? There really isn't much egoism here. There are teeny tiny egos here, Elizabeth. Spirituality, they're a lot bigger. boy, howdy, folks, they just keep coming more and more and more and more. We're going to stop here. I will invite each and every one of you to come to the congresses if possible. Please do go register. If you have a problem or something, maybe you need just a little bit of help with part of the money, something like that. In some cases, with serious students, we'll help. Folks, we really do care about your spiritual advancement, and that's it. And for maybe some of you want to help others. That's fine. We're setting up a fund for that too. We always pitch in a little bit. And for some of you that can't go that would like to, but you have other obligations, maybe you'd like to put in a couple bucks to help others to go. That'd be great too. We'll give you that. Of course, no one's required to do that. The 26th, we will not have a technical lesson. We will only have a regular lesson at the regular time. And November the 2nd, their lesson will be back. We will, I'm sure, have a lesson. Is there a reason not to have one November the 2nd? Okay. Oh, November the 2nd, we'll be having both lessons, the technical lesson as well as always at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, and we'll also have the lesson for the terminology at 5:30 p.m. Central, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. I hope you can all join us then. Folks, I'm really proud of you. I look at the quality of these questions, and it's amazing. If you went back and you saw the questions that everyone had when we very first started, I mean, we were getting questions like, what about UFOs and this type thing? Obviously, not spiritually oriented questions. It's amazing how fast. I'll tell you, for all of us that have been in Kabbalah for many years, it's amazing to us how the students begin now at the same place we did, and where we were in a year, they're there in 2 months. It's amazing. It's absolutely phenomenal. We're very proud of all of you. I would ask you that you all take each and every one of your questions, place them on the forum, and I will come and answer them. Also, Tony is there. He'll be happy to provide answers. And our other teachers, Igal and Mark, and our moderators, and we have plenty of them. So please do place any of your questions on the forum. We'll take care of them. Tony will have a very special lesson for you next Wednesday, and please don't forget that if there's a possibility of you attending the European Congress, that is on our site to register for it. It's in Blackpool, England, and also in St. Louis. I personally invite you to all of those. We will see you next Sunday at 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern, and you have a lesson at 8 p.m. Eastern this coming Wednesday with Tony. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.